Sure. Lights, camera, action.
All right. Good morning. Let's call the Rankin County Board of Supervisors to order. At this time, I'd like to have Mr. Craig Slay, if you would, have our invocation for us, please, sir.
Let's pray. Father, thank you again for the opportunity we have to gather here together to conduct business that is in the best interest of all of the citizens of our county. The blessings that you have bestowed on us, Father, we just give you the praise, the glory for those blessings. Father, we thank you for the privilege that it is to serve you and our fellow man. Thank you for these gentlemen, Lord, who have agreed and been willing, Father, to sacrifice of themselves, their time, to serve our fellow citizens. Lord, thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy to gather and how you have provided that for us. We give you praise. Father, I pray that you will open our minds and give us wisdom and discernment as we make these decisions. And thank you for those men and women, Father, who have sacrificed everything so that we can exercise these freedoms that we exercise today. In Christ's name,
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Craig. This time we have public comments. Looks like we have Mr. Kevin Adams. Good morning.
Good morning.
I go to Northwest Rankin School District, and what district is that?
That would be in District 2.
You're my
That's
supervisor.
Mr. Wood Brown. That's right. Yeah, I got to meet Mr. Adams. What, several months ago? Was that about 3 months ago? 4 months ago? And Kevin, we appreciate you being here. And in fact, he recognized me coming out of Flowood Library over there. Right. And I said, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you know, as young as you are and recognize elected officials like that, you know, it struck an interest, and I know you have an interest in politics and elected officials and everything, and we appreciate everything, you know, just as young as you are, to have an added interest in that. So, what I wanted you to, I know you called me the other day, you know, wanting to come and meet these guys and just to see them one-on-one and for them to get to know you a little bit better. And we appreciate you, everything that, and how old are you, Kevin?
14.
14 years old. Man, I've got a 13-year-old daughter, probably couldn't hardly tell you who her supervisor is. So, what is your special interest, Kevin? What do you like? Elections and politics?
Yes, my mom takes me to the polls sometimes.
Is that right? Okay.
Great.
Well, we appreciate you. Is there anything you'd like to say to maybe your supervisor? Because he's definitely all into Northwest Rankin for sure.
What do you do in your district, Wood Brown?
Where I live?
Now, what do you do?
Yes. You live next to Northwest Rankin Middle School?
In Castlewood.
Okay, so
You know where you pay your tickets? Do you know
Right.
where you pay your ticket? Pay your taxes?
great.
That's one of the things that we've implemented since I've been here. And we built a community center down on the reservoir where people can utilize it, weddings, graduations, whatever. And so as far as roads are concerned, we had a number of those, and you probably traveled over Old Fanning Road. Soon to be 5-lane with a bicycle track on the back of the curb or one on the west side. So it's been quite a few things to have in my district. And population growth is growing fast, and we can build the houses. So we're doing well.
Is there anything else you got, Mr. Kevin?
I love school. I love all subjects, and I spend time with my family sometimes.
Well, that's a great thing to do. That's a wonderful, family is a wonderful thing, and we appreciate your mother bringing you up here this morning.
That's right. Yeah.
Can I just say that he reads everything? He reads Jackson Free Press. He reads the Clarion Ledger as it comes to the house. I have to get it from him before he takes it apart, and I'm missing sections of my paper. And he reads any type of anything that's in the different stores in the
Right.
street, and that's how he knows me.
Right.
And he recognized a few of you too, and he also recognized Brian Bailey here when he stepped through the door. But I just try to, in any media outlet,
Right.
he's into it. So I just try to get him engulfed in it so he can see if that's what he really wants to do.
Right.
And no, he's not here for a special project, but he was just interested.
Oh, yeah.
To see how it works.
Well, we appreciate you coming today, Kevin, quite honestly, and I'm glad that we got your address and got your phone number. So we appreciate you spending time and coming up here and see how government works at a local level. And again, it's because of you that you know, the youth of today, which is our future for tomorrow. So we thank you so much for having that interest.
That's right.
So we should applaud you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
thank
Mr.
you.
Wilcox.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we have old business. We got minutes approval from February 27th and March the 3rd, 2014.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. This time we have the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, I was gonna say, John, let's see, John had death in the family,
His
didn't he?
mother-in-law died.
Okay, sorry about that.
I have a petition for change of assessments on the 2013 real and personal property assessment roll.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Bishop. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I also have a petition to adjust the 2013 homestead exemption supplemental roll.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Okay, I couldn't hear which one. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ray. Okay, at this time, we have Miss Bridget Herring, purchasing clerk.
Okay. Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First item I have is the bid opening for the rebid of the jail, the tower control panels in the jail.
Looks like they sent a bunch of samples.
Now, this time it looks like they submitted what they were supposed to.
That's right.
They sent the whole tower.
Sorry. The first bid is from B&E Communication. Total bid, $182,250. Got the drawings. Looks like everything's in order. This bid is from Montgomery Technology Systems. Total bid, $114,000. They've got their drawings and their sets right here. This bid is from Prime Logic. Total bid price $150,500. They've included all the sets required in their drawing. I recommend these be taken under advisement so I can review and make sure everything is included in their specs.
Make a motion to take these under advisement.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is to award the bids on the track hose that were opened on March 3rd. A recommendation is to award it to Stribling Equipment. The unit price $162,525, and with the JWH equipment being the alternate.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we have Mr. Charles Parker, County Consulting Engineer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
First item that I have on the agenda is our STPD 006124B, which is our early road project, early road bridge project. And this morning, I'm recommending approval of a board order and a joint letter of acceptance. State aid has finalized the project, and this is just the normal paperwork that follows that. I'm recommending approval of that this morning.
So make motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item I have on the agenda is our 2013 bridge rehabilitation and bank stabilization. I'm recommending approval of pay request number 4 in the amount of $40,515.13 to Quinn Contractors Incorporated, and requesting authority to issue that check.
Motion by myself,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our Ehrlich Road extension. I'm recommending approval of pay request number 7 in the amount of $114,028.38 to Joe McGee Construction Company Incorporated, and requesting authority to issue that check.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The last item I have on the agenda is our Huntington Lake Phase 3 of development. It's actually off of Hugh Ward Boulevard, Farmington Station, and I'm recommending approval of their final plat. But my recommendation is contingent upon 2 things. 1, receiving the letter of credit, which I have not received at this time, and also the grassing on the project had not been done. So I'm just, rather than wait till the next board meeting, I'm recommending approval of that final plat once I get that letter of credit and make sure that the grassing is in place.
I'll make that motion with the contingencies.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Bishop. Any questions? When you talk about the grassing, how much grassing do they have to do? Is it just a?
It's not much. It's a small development. I don't think it's about, I've got a drawing about 10 or 12 lots. It's not a lot of grassing.
Okay.
And they said the grassing had been done, but I could not find any sign of it out there.
Okay.
Pete Altman, who developed it, called and said they did the grassing. I said, well, they're going to do it again.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's kind of the status of it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
They
you.
did have some pretty rotten weather for grass.
Yes, sir, to say the least.
Yeah.
But you at least see the hay that's put out there.
Right.
Mr. Craig Slade, Board Attorney.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First item is just a quick status update on our MOU with the City of Pearl regarding the housing of City of Pearl youth court offenders at the Rankin County Juvenile Detention Center. Just going to give you a quick update on, we had a meeting with various parties. Pearl, I gave you guys a report on that. The outcome of that meeting was that we were to expect a response to the MOU from the City of Pearl. We were told to expect it no later than last Friday, the 14th. And so one of the reasons why we were moving our board meetings around to make sure was so we'd have something to report on. But we did not receive any report or response of any kind from the City of Pearl. To my knowledge, I don't know of any phone calls that were made about the status from their end. I'm not aware of it. It wasn't to me. And so where that leaves us at this point is we have a meeting scheduled tentatively for the 21st, which is this Friday. And my hope would be that we'll have a response prior to that meeting that we can discuss with you guys before the meeting. But at this point, I don't have anything to report other than we don't have anything to report.
So you said we have a meeting this Friday?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
21st?
Colonel Stringer, myself, I'm assuming the sheriff may be able to attend that. Those were the attendees for the March 7th meeting, and so.
Along with Pearl?
Along with the Pearl folks,
On
right.
the 21st?
That's correct.
Craig, that was a very thorough report.
Okay.
It really
Thank you.
was.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Good job with it.
I'm good at thorough.
Well, if, I'd like to suggest if you could, this week, that you reach out and touch them again and, let them know that you
Right.
did report to us. And, this is, strictly from my perspective, is basically that, we're expecting some kind of response, and that way by the 21st, they'll have rebuttal or whatever inclusions or deletions or whatever that they have ready for the 21st.
My hope is that at the next board meeting, we'll be in a position where we can talk
Right.
with you guys about something more official.
Okay.
So
All right.
that would be my hope. Anyway.
Wonderful. Thank you for that update.
Mr. President, the next item is a discussion of and possible action to provide a standing authorization of the Rankin County Tax Collector to refer any delinquent garbage fee account or personal property tax account or any other legal obligation subject to the authority of the tax collector for Rankin County to the board attorney for collection services, including the filing of suit if necessary. What this does is it allows the tax collector, their staff, to evaluate accounts that are delinquent for some period of time and of an appropriate amount, a significant amount, to justify further collection action. And this will give Ms. Judy's office the opportunity to come directly to me with these delinquent accounts, and you would be authorizing a standing order that lets me proceed with the collection, whether that be writing a letter or filing suit. My thought would be that in the past, we've brought each of these matters before filing suit before you and talked to you guys about them. What this would allow would be a more streamlined process so that I can just start taking action on some of these that need to be collected. And we're really talking, for the most part, about personal property tax accounts and garbage fee accounts where the securing of the license plate, the car tag,
Right.
is not effective for whatever reason. They don't have a car tag, or they've managed to figure out a way around that.
Right.
So this would give us another opportunity to collect.
How does that, do we still have, is it Chris? Who was our attorney?
Chris Palmer?
Yeah.
Yes, Chris,
Is he
he
still
helps
in-
us with some litigation, but no, this would not involve Chris.
That would not involve
No,
him?
this would not
Okay,
involve.
so this is basically a streamlined, basically in-house?
It's in-house, it's my office.
Right.
It would allow Judy to come to us. Am I misstating anything? Okay. It's allowed Judy to come to us and say, here's a garbage account.
Right.
We've tried to lock the tag down. They're getting around us. It's $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, we want to make sure that there's a minimum. I'm not going to be filing suit on $50 accounts.
Right.
Right.
That makes no
Okay.
sense. So,
And these are not just a little delinquent.
A lot delinquent, right.
Still on the property, they're just avoiding us every way possible. And this is our last resort.
And that, hey Craig, if you would, I guess just give it, for the audience, I guess give them a kind of an overlay and that we can't just write this off.
correct.
It's not legal for us to write
That's
this
correct.
off, correct?
The Constitution of the state of Mississippi says very clearly that obligations that are owed to a public body cannot be written off. The debts cannot just simply be forgiven or released.
Right.
They must be kept on the books, and they must be collected.
Right.
All right? So we don't have the authority to ignore unpaid delinquent accounts.
Right.
Explain the reason you can't do about the payment plan
Oh,
that's
yes,
been
sir.
misunderstood.
That's correct. That debt obligation is not, according to the Attorney General's opinions, this is not the force and weight of a law. The Attorney General's opinions are very clear, Jared, that where you've got a delinquent garbage account, let's talk about that specifically because that's the way the AG's opinion was written. When you've got a delinquent garbage account, what we had tried to do in the past was to allow folks to pay over time.
Mm-hmm.
And the AG's office very clearly stated that it is inappropriate to have a payment plan arrangement for the repayment or the paying of the garbage fee. That has to be paid in full in order for the tag to be released.
So you can have a payment plan, but
Yes.
you can't
release the tag.
Release the tag, right?
That's correct.
Until it's completely paid.
And what we're finding, guys, is that, well, human nature being what it is, folks can figure out ways to go around some of the limitations you try to put in place. So you have the ability to hold the tag, and they figure out ways around that. So we're going to give them another opportunity.
Understand.
Right. And we'll be, I'm going to use my best judgment of what I try to do, and Jay, you may be able to confirm what I'm saying here. I try to let the supervisor of the district where the taxpayer resides or has a business know before we do something like file suit.
Right.
So if it's going to be an issue, I try my best to give you guys a heads up so that you understand what is about to happen, so
Right.
that you don't get blindsided by a phone call. So that's what I would propose to continue to do, to let you guys know.
Okay. And where, Judy, if I'm not mistaken, do you have an accurate or close to an accurate figure on the delinquent taxes just on waste management?
No, not really. No, we're working with Craig and them to try to get those that are back in 92.
I mean,
Not wipe them off.
Right.
Move them over here so that we can get going. We've got 60,000 accounts open where there's only 30,000 active.
Right.
So we've got to do something to be able to streamline this process.
Am I mistaken in the last figure I heard that it was close to 800,000 if I'm wrong?
That was when we started, yeah, back in April of last year.
So,
But we cleared up a lot.
yes,
Right.
ma'am, I know you have, and
You
we
may
appreciate
recall-
that.
You may recall that actually for 2013, more in fees was collected than was actually charged in 2013.
Right.
And that's a byproduct of
Back
more
taxes.
aggressive
Right.
collection of older
Right.
accounts.
Right.
So
Now
the
we're
process
officially-
works,
Right.
and it's becoming more effective. And the reason that happened was not anything to do with our office. Ms. Judy's sent out letters
Right.
inviting folks to pay up, and they did. So it was effective. And we think that this may just be an extra layer
to,
yeah,
right.
to give us a little bit better feedback. And it's working. We're doing a good job, I say. I'm not my office. I'm talking about the team approach to this has been effective in that we're seeing a better collection rate on personal property taxes.
Right.
About 50% of the outstanding
Right.
personal property taxes of the accounts that we looked at, out of about 40,
Right.
over half of those have stepped up and paid.
Okay.
Not in full. They've paid.
We just need a little.
We're getting there.
A little bit stronger, basically.
The waste management part of this is basically for those people that own these mobile home places, where they work the system where they're not paying, the renters are not paying. The renters are paying the people that own it, but they're not turning the money over to us. They don't own a vehicle, they own something else, you know, it's just, it's not the individuals that we're dealing with on this, on waste management.
Gotcha.
It could be for personal property, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just need a motion to.
Yeah, I'd like to see, make a motion.
I make a motion to approve this item as presented.
All right, we got a motion to approve this item by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Wilcox, the next item is a request by the Village of Puckett for repairs and maintenance to a parking lot. That is the city park at Puckett. That is, it's authorized by statute. The statute is cited there, 5591. It allows the county to participate in maintenance and repair of a city parking lot upon written request. To my knowledge, we don't have the written request in hand yet, so what I would like to propose is that we approve this item if you're of a mind to, contingent upon receipt of the written request.
Okay, I make that motion contingent upon that request.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. President, item D is discussion of and possible action on a proposed resolution establishing a policy of authorizing repair of real or personal property damage during emergency operations of Rankin County volunteer firefighters. Sent you guys a copy of that resolution and a copy of the AG opinion. The AG opinion I've discussed with a number of individuals. They read it similarly to me. One of those who read it is Judge McDaniel, and he agreed that it indicates that where this board makes a finding that the benefit to all of the county for enhanced emergency response is what the finding is based on, as opposed to a benefit to an individual landowner, that it's proper, it's appropriate for the board then to authorize the road department to step up and help wherever there are damages caused by emergency operations of volunteer fire departments. And so we talked about this previously, about the issue. We addressed it with the chiefs, and we've had a lot of discussion about that. We asked for some specific legislation to be passed. The deadline for having it set up as a separate item of legislation had already passed by the time that we found out that we had an issue. And so we're hopeful that maybe next year we'll have a piece of legislation that can be passed that will completely answer this, and we won't even have to rely on an AG's opinion. But in the interim, I would suggest that we have a resolution passed that would allow it.
All right, Sheriff, what you got, bud?
Is there any way you can add the deputies to this? Because we had a pursuit the other day, went over to Scott County, they ended up in this lady's yard. They messed up the top of her septic tank. I had another situation where they were trying to catch a guy, went through a yard, had ruts in the yard. I'd like to be able to go out there and put sand, fill the ruts up.
I think it falls.
We're actually in good shape. We're authorized to do that already because that's the county.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about it. We're good. We're good on that.
Sheriff,
Yep.
by the way, none of them were in Hines County, were you?
But Craig, on the septic tank, is that something we can address?
Yes, sir. We can address any repair. Let me, if y'all have specific questions about why we need a resolution to do this, I can answer that. If y'all are ready, I'll move on to the specifics of our resolution now and address what you're actually authorizing. From time to time, during emergency operations, we have volunteer firefighters who are not county employees. They're volunteers, number one, and they are operating on behalf of a nonprofit corporation that's under contract with the county, all right? So it's not technically the county doing the work, providing the service, and ultimately potentially causing the damage to other private property. So that's just an issue that we need to address. This allows us to take care of those kinds of issues. The limitations on the policy are that, number one, we need to receive a written request from the chief of the volunteer fire department that caused damage for the repair. All right, so there will be some minimum contact that we need to help us know where do we go, how did it happen, who caused it, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so that's number one. Number two, we would put a limitation of $2,500 per occurrence for the damage that's caused. That's what the county would be responsible for. And that would be measured by the material that is used, the county material that's used, the county labor that's required, and the county equipment that is required. Okay? So it would be up to the road department, in this case, to calculate, you know, what sort of limitations they have on what they can do. All right? So anything over that would have to fall back on the responsibility of the volunteer fire department to correct. Okay? The other issue is that the county is reserving the ability to then pursue reimbursement directly from the liability insurance carrier of the volunteer fire department for any damages that were caused. We would basically step into the shoes of the volunteer fire department and or the property owner, whichever is appropriate, and have a reimbursement to the county for whatever's provided up to that amount. Okay, so those are the limitations. We got to get a written request, and I failed to mention this. The written request has to be received by us within 180 days from the date that the damage is caused. We don't want some inordinate length of time. It's pretty long. It's pretty generous.
Isn't that a little too long?
Well, that's totally up to you guys. I selected a purposefully long period of time so that there would not be any question that we definitely want to help. We just don't want to be strung out a year from now, find out that some damage. It makes it difficult to tie the damage to an actual occurrence.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
And you got several different entities that are going to be involved in this, because you got the Bob's office, you got Dale's office, you got you got the landowner. I mean, it's really kind of a lot of, you know, the volunteer fire department. Right. So, you know,
Jared,
probably a 30 to 45 day would probably be even.
Yeah, because they're going to know right quick.
Right.
My hope would be that the first option would be that the liability carrier will step up if it's really bad damages, Jared, and I'll give an example.
I see what you're going. Okay, I got you.
Guy pulls into a driveway, somebody has boneheadedly placed a septic tank in the driveway, and it sinks into the septic system. That's more than a $2,500 problem.
Right.
So my hope would be that in that case, that we first explore what will the liability carrier come in and indemnify.
Yes.
And then if there's something else left over that we need to tend to that's not covered, we'll still have the time for them to ask for it.
I got it. I know. I see what you're doing now. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll do, is everyone clear on this, Sam? I think it's a
scenario. Typically, if there's some damage done, perhaps let's use an example as a grass fire, forest fire, and they're trying to access it, and it's approaching residential area, and they pull off the road and make ruts in the yard. That person contacts a supervisor. So then I've got to contact that chief and get him to write a letter. So I think, you know, him being a volunteer, he's not going to drop what he's doing to write that letter. I mean, it's going to take a period of time to get to all the correspondence in line. Now, if it's a structure that's burning, and I see where their insurance would come into play and take care of that.
Yes, sir.
This oftentimes could be not even on their property where the fire is, but we access it from their property to prevent further spreading of the wildfire.
That's exactly right. Yes, sir. We also have had occasions where fences are cut, moved out of the way. Those are damages that could be covered under this particular policy. It will allow us to go in and take care of that situation. And you also make a good point. One of the reasons for the written request is we want it to be clear that one or more of the departments is actually taking responsibility for the damage. There's not any question at that point that there was damage and that it was caused by the emergency operations of a particular department. So eliminates a lot of confusion.
All right. With all that being said, do I have a motion, or do we want to move on with this as far as a possible action on the proposed resolution?
I move we adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Morrison. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. The next series of items are public hearings to be set. I would ask that we take items 1 through 6 under the heading Set Public Hearing as one motion. Those are all for public hearings for nuisance property. And I believe they are. Yeah, they are. And they are all to be set for April the 3rd, 2014 at 9 a.m. Jonathan Lawson, Jimmy Clark, Karen Lynn Pruitt, Clarence Dean Thompson, Timothy Hall, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce Dollywall, maybe? Mr. Dollywall.
I'm sure it's not pronounced that way.
All right.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions?
In the future, is there any way that we could put the address of the proposed nuisance property on the
I saw one of them for
Agenda.
Holly Bush Road. Yeah, I like that. If you could put it on the agenda, that would be wonderful. Okay. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. President, item 7 is to set a public hearing for April the 15th, 2014 at 9 a.m. for Cody Hamilton dimensional variance request.
Okay.
Motion approved.
Got a motion by Mr. Bishop.
second?
Second by Mr. Brown. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
At the time of our discussing additional item of business, I'm mentioning it now in case I forget. We've got an issue about burning that we want to address, and I'll take that at the additional item.
Surely I haven't heard about that. Mr. J.K. Stringer, County Administrator.
This will be the claims docket, and I'll be asking in just a minute that you approve the claims docket.
All righty.
And so now I request approval of the claims docket in the amount of $16,976,607.69.
Motion to approve.
Did I mispronounce that? Did I read that wrong?
You read it
It's
perfect.
about 10 million high.
We're investing $9,500,000 in Trinity, where we do a lot of our investments, where we get a much better rate of return than what we do from the bank, which is about nil. And this money is going to be very fluid money, so that as we need it, we can take it out. It's not going to be locked in, but that's why it's so high.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Brown, I think, probably wants to return. And, you know, and I think it might be worthwhile to just let everybody know why Mr. Brown leaves when we do the claims document. He's got a relative that's involved in payment in that claims document, so he wants to make sure that there's no doubt that he reclused himself from voting on that item.
Yes, thank you. Make the records reflect, I'm sure you did, that Mr. Brown was not present during the claims docket vote.
Now, the next item is I invite you to get out your whips, because I want to discuss the possible approval of a 3-year agreement between Rankin County and ES&S for election code system services. Rusty has gone over this in fine detail and done a real analysis of it, and we talked about it last meeting. There's not a cost savings if we did it in-house, but the most important thing is two points. As we get into this election year that we're coming up on, and then next year, a heavy year on the coding, is the liability involved in that. We do it in-house, it falls directly on us, you guys. Secondly, is over the period of time, if we start trying to keep somebody trained to do this, we're dependent on that one person being here throughout this entire process. Hopefully they would be, but can't guarantee that. So we have worked with ES&S and got I think a good price, and dealt with some past obligations also with it. And so I'm asking for approval of the board that we be able to enter into an agreement, 3-year agreement for the coding, and we know that up front then, and we'll have to argue about it election by election, and we can move on. So I ask for your approval.
We don't know what, we don't know anything about figure.
I thought we already voted on this.
No, we discussed it and said we were going to vote on it this meeting. We discussed it during the work session.
You guys may remember that there were some contingencies that we wanted to address with them that we had not yet gotten a firm answer on. We had been led to believe that they would accept them, but we didn't have a firm answer. One was we wanted a credit on an obligation that they were asking us for. Turned out to be close to $5,200. They waived that completely. They're not making that claim anymore, so that's gone. The second thing we wanted was the ability to prorate the amount that we were agreeing to pay in the event there were no election devices to code. And they came back and explained that they are not billing us a lump sum. They're only going to expect to be paid once the services are actually rendered. So they're giving us a price, but they're only going to bill at the time the service is rendered. Correct. So if there are no devices to be coded, there won't be a bill.
Could be less then.
Yes.
Basically.
But it wouldn't exceed.
Correct.
Correct. Not to exceed amount.
Okay.
I know we voted on something that day pertaining to this. So.
What we did, we voted previously on the 3-year maintenance agreement.
That's correct.
We did vote on previously on that, but we discussed this item pretty much in detail at the previous work session. But we didn't vote on it, saying let's wait until this meeting to vote.
Okay.
Which page is that?
I'll let that be.
XB has the prices listed out for you as well.
Page before the consent.
Okay. So the grand total would be 33,000. Is that what we're looking at?
It depends if there's a runoff.
Yeah, runoffs. They have a
Gotcha.
stated price on runoffs.
That's the not to exceed.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
That's correct.
So it really could be virtually less than this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And like Colonel Stringer said, this eliminates the risk of us losing an employee during an election. If the person coding leaves 2 weeks before the election,
right,
we can't have the machines. If the person leaves during tallying or leaves during reporting, we can't tally or report.
Well, he only leaves, but is sick or anything could happen.
Correct, hit by a bus or something along those lines.
Right.
You know, the other concern is this keeps us from having to do training yearly
right.
on each election. So.
And did I not, like you said at the front end, that we're not really saving anything if we did go county?
Correct.
I mean, basically,
Correct.
we could actually go in the hole if we went county, our
Correct.
employees.
After training, equipment
Right.
costs, you know, repairs and keeping somebody on board and all that other stuff, yeah, you're gonna probably end up spending way more.
Right. Okay.
Well, of course, we went to paper, we would save tons. So,
but
actually, to get back to what you said before, unless there's something written different here, it says that they'll bill us at a separate rate for runoffs.
That's correct. That's correct. There's I think.
So then this isn't the maximum.
I don't have it
33,000
written in
not the maximum.
here. It
It's
is.
the maximum for the elections that you see in the box.
Yeah.
Jay.
Okay.
That's
so
correct.
it's possible it could
Look
be
in the
more.
box.
Potentially, that's correct.
That's the max.
Okay.
If there are-
For
if
special
there's a-
election, then.
If there's a special election, or if there is a runoff
Right.
associated with one of the elections in the box,
Right.
there's an that there is a stated fee. It's the
Bottom.
sentence right at the bottom.
4,500.
4,500 per election,
For the
which is
runoff or a
right.
special.
That's correct, and this covers coding, PEB repairs, and PEB batteries is essentially what we're paying them for.
Okay.
Yeah, but PEB batteries,
That's correct.
so would that include the cost of them putting them in?
That's correct.
Because last time we had to pay them a pretty substantial amount to do that.
That's correct. What we do normally is we send off our PEBs and they replace them all as part of the cost that we pay them for, that $4,000 to $5,000 depending on the election.
Okay.
And hopefully this 3-year period will get us through the period that we will be using these particular voting machines.
You mean before we go to paper?
I didn't say that, but I thought you might pick up on that, Jay.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Johnson. Any more questions, discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Hey,
Motion carries. Thank you, Jay.
you're welcome. Did my part.
Well, they already had you written down as a name.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. The next item is something that we do on an annual basis. Request approval to set Rankin County Cleanup Week for April the 28th through May the 3rd in conjunction with Household Hazardous Waste and Tire Collection Day on Saturday, March the 3rd, May the 3rd, and authority to advertise for bids for household hazardous waste collection and advertise notice of spring cleanup week. This will traditionally, I think this probably cost us about $70,000 a year to do this. It is not part of the waste management fee that we charge to households. This is a county-wide, whether you live in municipality or in the county, you're able to take advantage of this. And it really is a good deal. It keeps stuff off the curbs, out of the ditches, allows people to get rid of these things that they don't know how to dispose of otherwise. Paint, for example, is a good example. All this type.
When we list this in the newspapers, do we list an area where these roll-offs will be?
We list what is acceptable on the hazardous waste day, and for the spring cleanup, we list an address where each dumpster will be located and where they can take the items.
Okay, wonderful.
We get a grant subsidized on this, right?
We do, but our portion's still around 70-something thousand, because that is usually the cost of just the company that comes in and does the hazmat day. Then we have the roll-off containers that we have, and we pay employees off the road crew that are there, and the grant will usually take care of that. Takes care a little bit of the hazmat day.
What type of items will they actually be able to go to your house and pick up?
The ones that come to mind, I know, they won't go to your house.
Well, this is household waste collection.
Well, that's
like
just
you're going to the house.
That's
I'm like,
just that's what it's always been called. But you have
coming
to bring
from
it
your
in.
household.
But it's,
just checking. Just checking.
It's paint, it's batteries, it's air conditioners, anything that has something, you know, like Freon or different things that have to be disposed of, paints that have to be disposed of properly.
Stuff that generally doesn't get disposed of properly,
Right.
the way it's.
And they accept down at Marquette, they accept paint almost all year round, and what
Right.
they do is store it in one of the facilities there. So when this company comes in, they have to do all the procedures of wrapping the pallets and
Right.
taking it off, and then other things that are.
Has
brought
this
that
been
day.
pretty productive? I mean, every year that we've done this, I think it has.
And then we include, for tire collection, we have that all the time too at different locations, but just sort of emphasize that day for people to bring it in.
Right.
And we do have a waste tire grant that will reimburse us a little bit on that too.
Okay, sounds great. So do I have a motion to approve this?
So
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Additional
Thank you.
business.
Wait a minute, I've got one item, if I may, small. It has to do with our new employee down at the EOC. We didn't get this in time to get it on the consent agenda. For him to go to some training at a cost of $75, be the large animal emergency rescue and requesting for approval that he be able to attend that training for $75.
Where is it?
I think, is it over at Mississippi State, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
Okay.
for Mr. Brian Grantham.
Motion to add this item?
Motion to add this
Second.
item to the agenda by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now I need a motion to accept,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve Mr. Johnson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Slade.
This is just a discussion item,
Okay.
gentlemen. The issue came up, there was some burning taking place over in Castle Woods. There was a lot of smoke and particulate matter that was being discharged. This happened at the end of last week. And so the question came up, does the county in any way regulate the open burning of construction type debris? And the answer to that is no, we don't have an ordinance to that effect. It falls back into, therefore, DEQ regulations. DEQ does, in fact, regulate open burning, and they provide parameters for that and permitting and that type of thing. So I wanted to go over quickly with you how DEQ regulates it and how that relates, if at all, to what this board may want to do to provide a local sort of regulation in specific circumstances.
Wait a minute, wait a
DEQ.
minute. Is this going to be from burning, exactly what is it going to cover?
There are a number of things that DEQ regulates the
Okay.
burning of.
All right.
But what I understand that is of primary concern in this case is what I would refer to as land clearing debris. Okay? So it's primarily it's going to be construction.
So
Okay.
when they-
But
so
I
when
mean,
they-
is it referring to like, you know, when they're, when you're building a house, they're usually burning the scrap pieces of wood
Yes, sir.
sometimes?
That type of thing. That's
That too?
exactly. Anything that is that generates particulate matter, smoke.
What are we
and
trying to do,
ashes.
though?
Yeah, hang on one second. Let's hear from Bob just 1 second.
All right.
The DEQ will explain it to you, and they've explained it to me clearly when I was on the fire department and gave the man permission to burn cardboard boxes. Anything other than leaves and limbs is illegal to burn in Mississippi.
So it'd probably be best if we don't have ordinance at all then, right?
Yeah, the issue, well, here's how DEQ regulates, just so we're clear. And again, it's DEQ regulation, all right? So we don't send Bob out, we don't send the sheriff out, we don't send a deputy out, we don't send community development out. It's a DEQ reg, and they are responsible for enforcing it.
How do
So-
we get them to enforce
You
it?
call DEQ and ask them to go check out a particular situation and see if what is happening actually complies. DEQ regulates the open burning of things like land clearing debris. It has to take place if it's just open burning with no forced air assist of any kind. If it's just open burning, they've got to be 500 yards away from an occupied dwelling. 500 yards. Now that's going to be hard to do in a subdivision. So they're going to be out of compliance if they are open burning land clearing debris in a subdivision where there are occupied dwellings. Most likely they're not going to be in compliance. Okay? If they have a forced air unit, they can be as close as 50 yards to an occupied dwelling, but no closer. So that's 150 feet.
So
What was happening late last week was open burning, to my knowledge, no forced air, and the wind was actually causing drift of ash and particulate matter onto occupied dwellings.
Bob, do you have a close contact with DEQ that, I mean, and I'm not trying to throw this off into your lap, but it sounds like it should be mostly, I would think, more into your venue where something that.
Yes, we handle, 2 or 3 of these every week, and, it varies where, whether someone's burning an old trailer that's been abandoned for years, or an old house, or an old shed that's been abandoned for years. And typically, by the time we get there, it's pretty much gone.
Well, does DEQ give exceptions? I mean, at all?
No, sir. I can assure you they do.
Well, if it's gone, what do they do?
Yeah, if it's out before you get there.
Well, basically, what we tell the people is, you know, a lot of times when we've had, you know, firemen get, you know, that have called us out, if we believe it's done intentionally, if it's a repeat person that continually is burning something.
Right.
And we have that. I mean, we have areas where, you know, people will pile up some tires, and we go out there and, you know, we've explained it to them. But it's a, you know, if that's the case, we call DEQ to come in and assist us. But, you know, if it's just a one time, if some guy's, you know, burning off his, you know, the farm and, you know, the old trailer and it's already burned up, you know, we just tell them, look, hey, don't do this again, it's against the law. We have to call DEQ out here at this fire department, you know, and I've told them, you know, if I have to call the fire department out one more time, we're coming out with DEQ. That's basically how we handle it now.
You're talking about really heavy populated areas though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had them in subdivisions, you know, in the country, you know, it's varied. I mean, we had one this weekend, yesterday, a guy burned a fiberglass boat. You know,
Made some black smoke.
Yeah, a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you, by the time we get out there, I mean, it's, you know, it's gone. And,
Is that bad?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but we get this, you know, it's a tire, a boat. I mean, you know, you're talking about, you know, you can't, you know, it's a lot of effort to put a one burning tire out. If you got 3 or 4, I mean, you know, but if somebody's continuously doing it, that's, you know, like I said, that's what we pursue it is, you know, if we have to come out here again, you know, we're bringing the DEQ substantial fines that go with DEQ, getting those guys out there.
Where does the EPA get involved?
That's government. I don't know. I've never worked with, the only EPA agent I've ever seen was at a big commercial fire. That's the only time I've ever seen one. But DEQ, you know, is really good at handling it, and they've worked well with us, you know, on highways as well as, you know.
The way the federal law is drafted, Jay, the Environmental Protection Agency promulgates the rules and then they push the enforcement down to the state level. So that's how MEMA gets created, and it's how DEQ operates. They operate within the framework of the federal regs and the state law, and they are the primary enforcement mechanism of those laws. So you wouldn't see EPA get involved until you get into an issue of pollutants, you know, extreme pollutant type issue.
Yes, sir.
If I may, Mr. President, can I ask Bob a question, and so we understand what the process is here? If there is someone burning and a citizen has questions about something being burned, then am I hearing Bob said they can call your office? Yes. You'll get somebody out there to look at it, make the decision on whether to call DEQ. So, all right.
So that's what I was fixing to ask. Okay. What's the process for our individuals out there, our constituents, because they just need to know.
Yeah,
you know.
We've also worked with, I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've been out with deputies, and deputies have a question, or they see something that, and most of the guys know that are on the road, you know, what an illegal burn is.
Right.
And, you know, they'll call us, we'll come out, you know, talk to the people, you know, and if they get, you know, if they really want to push the issue, we'll call DEQ in.
Well, like I said,
if they're willing to work with us and put it out and not do it again.
Right. If they're habitual, like you said, DEQs needs to be called in anyway.
I mean,
so
we're, you know, if we have to go out there 2 or 3 times, you know, and we'll, you know, more than likely have a deputy with us.
Right.
We call DEQ in and let DEQ handle the situation.
Okay.
So the fire departments really don't have, or do they have any authority to go out and tell somebody or
tell them to put it out?
Yeah, they have the ability to go out and put it out. It is a hazardous, you know.
No, but I mean, do they have the authority to go out and say, you can't have that, we're fixing to put it out?
Yes, sir.
Well, if the landowner
that looks
says,
like that
"Stay
kind of
on my
overrides
property."
DEQ.
Well, if they do, then, you know, it'd be, once again, that's like somebody breaking the law. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but, you know, somebody called us to respond. You know, so there is a duty to act. And the way I understand it from the, and I forget what the code is on the pollution, if you can contain it on your property, then it's okay. But if that smoke goes up into the air and crosses over your property, then it's no longer, you know, under your control. So if that smoke leaves your property, then it's not burning on your land.
I guess what I was getting at though, if they're gonna call you, so this sounds like confusion, if they're going to call you because they're questioning some fire there, but if the fire department drives out there, then they just cut one call down. I mean, so is the fire department gonna have that authority?
Yeah, they have the ability to call them directly, but most of them work with it, and some do and some don't. It depends on where you are in the county, and depends on as far as volunteers go. I mean, you know, it's going to be varying degrees of, you know, let's say levels of or number of years on the department. If you get some guy that's, you know, a little bit younger, you know, he may want us to come out and help him. If you've got the chief that's been there, you know, 16, 18, 20 years, you know, he's not going to have a problem calling on his own. But we go out either way.
Okay, I guess, why would they call DEQ, or why would they need to call you? Just call the fire department.
Not every fire is going to put the fire department in the situation of having to evaluate whether or not there's a danger to other properties.
Okay.
So I think that they talking about a particular incident where bad neighbor keeps burning, I guess. Sounds like to me.
And that's when DEQ would be called in anyway if they're habitual, so, okay.
I understand calling DEQ, but them people don't call DEQ. They call their supervisor.
And in turn, you should call Bob.
Right.
Let them handle it, let it go through, let it go through its process, and then he can get to DEQ.
Just give them his number.
That's right. So
I think y'all already do anyway.
we pretty much try to, Bob.
I wish you'd have had it Saturday.
Just so it's clear, that DEQ leaves room for local ordinances that can be passed. If DEQ does not regulate local ordinances, but they recognize that there are situations where either a municipality or, I assume, a county passes an ordinance that regulates burning that is even stronger than DEQ's regs, and they give effect to that. So, just so you're clear, they also are one of the things that is concerning about these issues is that if you try to control burn on your property, but you live or your property is situated in such a way that there is a high traffic area close by, then smoke drift can be a problem.
Right.
If it blocks
traffic and everything, oh yeah,
that can be a problem. Yeah. So they watch those kinds of situations.
So
it's common sense kind of deal.
I guess with all this being said, what's your recommendation? What do you think?
I'm just making sure you guys understand that we've had this issue pop up, and I think with this program where Bob's folks can get involved and help us,
right?
I think it'll work. It's worked in the past. I think it'll work. And if we get a situation where it's habitual, we'll ask DEQ to get involved.
And if it continues to escalate, then we could actually look back at then possibly doing a policy.
My thought would be if DEQ is not willing to help us in those situations like that, then maybe we do need to look at something
that's going to
more effective that would allow us then to step in, because DEQ is not going to do anything about it.
Right. Okay.
Just thought.
Yeah. I think it sends a pretty big message. DEQ truck drives up.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, Bob. All right. Sound okay to you? All right. Any additional business to be discussed?
Yeah, I want to ask, Mr. Spencer up there in your area would email me last night, and he submitted a complaint, I guess, with Renee. So where are we at on that?
That's the man with the noise deal? Okay.
I think that's, at this point, it would be good to just hash it out that we might want to look at the possibility of some sort of ordinances or regulations that relate to gas and oil production in the county, because my observation is that it's coming faster and more furiously. The technology is there to produce natural gas and oil in places where you never would have dreamed it possible previously. Apparently the cost associated with doing that work is more than offset by the cost of the product that they get. And so they're incentivized to continue to explore in places where they haven't before. And I think you're going to start seeing more exploration in more heavily populated areas. So this issue of noise, this issue of other potentially nuisance sorts of problems associated with oil and gas exploration, it may be time for us to look at whether there should be some common sense regulations at the local level that will help us get a handle on things like Jay's talking about. It's a fellow that's up in District 2 that lives in proximity, I guess, to one of the Denbury wells up there. It's a natural gas well, and there's a generator that's associated with that facility that apparently diesel generator that runs constantly, and it creates a low frequency noise, and I'm assuming that that's what he's calling about.
That's
right?
it. Well, he just asked if it was coming on our agenda today, and I didn't. I told him no, but because he had said that he had filed a complaint with Renee's office.
Yeah, well, we have a process that we go through whenever there's a complaint like that. We got to go through the steps and figure out where we go from there. What we had hoped to do, Jay, I think previously, was to make contact and see if maybe we could get some voluntary help out of Denbury.
Right.
And that contact has not yet been made, but I am prepared to proceed with that if that's what the pleasure of the board is. If we want to make contact and see what they're willing to do. My understanding is that I think he's got his house on the market.
Yeah, he does.
Right.
Actually, they're wanting to move to Florence. So,
Well,
he told me he's not the only one either. There's some other neighbors there too, and he said he'd get a list of them. They'd even come to our next meeting.
Okay.
If that was
Why can't we go ahead and authorize Craig to?
Yeah, I think
then
that'd be a
to
good
just
idea.
See if we can make some contact.
Well, that seems an easy idea to me.
Yeah.
And because this is not the first go round with them, because
Well,
we did have early on, I think.
I don't have a good. It would be the first time that I have been involved
Right.
in any process dealing with that particular well site.
Right.
To my knowledge, there hasn't been any formal action.
No,
Do we need to take board action on this for you to go see them? And
I would like to know the pleasure of the board of making a formal contact with Denbury and asking them to tell us what they're willing to do with respect to this well. My understanding was that they may have been on the precipice of a decision that would have made this whole thing go away, but that was the last I heard. We were hoping to give them time to do that.
Right.
Craig, is it realistic
Just
to believe that we could adopt some kind of a local ordinance when anything related to the oil and gas industry doesn't even, they aren't regulated by any other federal agency? Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act.
Oh, yes, sir. All of that comes into play for those kinds of facilities. Also,
they're exempt from all that.
Well, State Oil and Gas Board has some minimum requirements that have to do with siting and have to do with their activities. And there's a federal, I can't think of the name of it right now, but there's a federal agency that oversees those same issues. Now, the issue that I'm talking about, the local ordinance, has to do with the byproducts. We're not going to regulate where they can explore. We're going to regulate, or we would propose to regulate how and when. Okay? So things like common sense noise barriers, that would be an idea that might show up in an ordinance. So if you want to explore within so many feet of a platted subdivision in Rankin County, you need to have the following minimum noise reducing capacities associated with that well.
I wish you luck.
I make a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Morrison. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I make a motion for allow Craig to make contact with the gas company. Denbury, to resolve this situation.
Motion by Mr. Bishop,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Any additional business to be discussed?
Yeah, our multi-purpose facility. Craig, you sent an email last week when I was gone. It seems things are taking a turn from where we started, where general consensus was that the facility was going to stay intact as is. I don't want to move down this road if that's going to change.
Okay. Well, I did email everyone and ask them that, of course, we do have a couple of mayors that could possibly be involved in this. So, if possible, I'd like to set up some legal, since we can't do by state statute, we can't do 3 supervisors at a time. I'd like to have some meetings with 2 or less supervisors along with a couple mayors this week at y'all's convenience, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can have all the meeting you want. I'm not in favor of changing the facility.
Right.
So I don't.
It has kind of changed from where we were headed to.
Well, it has.
To turn, I mean.
It has.
I think
And it's
that's
just within the
maybe
last.
what he's talking about.
Right.
It might would have been nice to realize there was a turn.
And I wish I could tell you that, really wish I could get it out to what the turn is, but.
Well, I know what it is. I've already had
and the
a meeting.
mayors right now
And that
would
was
really
kind of a shocker
rather-
to me.
Economic impact for Rankin County would really rather not put that out right now due to legalities and putting this board at risk and also them at risk of getting it out to the public. So,
But there's some legalities involved. Let's go in executive session and discuss it.
There's not any sort of litigation, Jay.
on their end would be some possibilities. So,
Well, the general consensus of this board to allow, our sister city here to take it over and run it as is, because it's a headache to us, and once that was found out that was going to change, I felt like everybody's involved with this project should have brought it back to the board and informed the board of that, and let's move forward as a board rather than everybody meeting, over here, I'm gonna get these two together. We operate as 5.
if you can do that without, just like what we do with Rankin First, there's certain things that they can't bring to the table because of sensitivity. So right now it's, they're asking if we could do this one-on-one.
Who is they?
We're talking about Mayor Lee and
We've got
Mayor
a lot of
Ross.
moving parts in this
A
thing.
lot of
and
moving.
Some of it involves other participants in this, trying to secure, they're in negotiations over real property. And so open discussions of those kinds of things would not jeopardize our board in any way, but it could drastically jeopardize some of the other potential participants in this process. So,
Well, I'm ready to move
out of
forward.
respect for their sensitivity, we needed to be careful.
But the only thing, I guess I can see, once this changed, I see where Jay's going, once this kind of changed as going in one direction and kind of broadened, then it seemed like it's kind of been singly sourced where it may have been other options out there. If you're going to look at, well, yeah, it really has. If you're nailing it down to 2.
And that's not, but I know what
No,
you're saying.
if you're narrowing it down to two cities or 2 communities or 2 districts, whatever, how you're going to put it, then yeah, you are kind of singling it out to working it with one group rather than it could have been. I don't know what else is out there. I think that's what he said. If it was going in a different direction, we might should have all known to see if there was
And again, this
more
is,
to be in something other alternatives.
this
or
has just been within
avenues.
the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That all this came about. Of course, last week was spring break, so people
Right.
were not around. So it's not been a good timing measure for all of this. So you know, if you want to discuss it, you know, I can get this thing together Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday to discuss.
That's just why I'm telling you, there's no discussing it with me. It's gonna be a horse facility. That's what we spent all these millions of dollars for. You know, it's stupid for us to go move it from where it's centrally located to somewhere else. And, you know, this board made a conscious decision several years back to not invest several $1 million to upgrade the facility. And one main reason was we wanted the local people to be able to utilize it.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, once this changed, felt like you left out on the outside as even an option. But
Well,
you-
I'm not thinking what he's saying is there should be an option at all, so that's what I'm hearing. So,
You know, we kicked this can down the road, and honestly, I thought that Brandon may take it over and want to run it, but if they're not wanting to do that, we need to go ahead and make our own decision to, you know, do what we've been talking about doing for years, and that is get one person over there to take care of the facility full time.
all right, is there any more discussion on that? Okay. Any additional business to be discussed?
Mr.
Okay.
President, we entertain a motion to recess till April 3rd at 9 a.m.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.